Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Village Board meeting for November 15th, 2021. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Here.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
President Horker?
Here. You have before you the minutes of the special meeting of October 31st, 2021. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Lang, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Abstain.
Okay. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
And Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. You also have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of November 1st, 2021. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second, Trustee Rufato. Roll call.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Abstain.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Any changes to the agenda, Mr. Spondilis?
There are no changes this evening.
Thank you, sir. Citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Brady, anything?
Yes, we have Richard Rosen. Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding issues related to the village business. No citizen shall speak more than 5 minutes within consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting.
Just as a reminder, this is time for citizens to express their concerns and comments and the board to listen. We will not be engaging in comment or debate. Please.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier for me to talk. And thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you for letting me be here today to talk to you. Today, I've been here for other reasons many times before, but today, the reason I'm here is to talk about an upcoming event and a group that I'm involved in as the president of. So my name is Rich Rosen, and as I say, I'm president now of the Northwest Suburban Interfaith Group. I've been there. The group itself has been around for 27 years. I've been with them for 25 of those years. It's a leading non-for-profit community organization. We are represented by clergy and lay members from 11 places of worship, 2 of which are located here in Wheeling, St. Joe the Worker and Shir Hadass. As volunteers, we are focused upon fostering an understanding among the different faiths, working and encouraging cooperative social services, and finally, in serving as an ethical voice to promote unity within our own community. So, on this coming Sunday, there's a reason why I'm here, is at 7 p.m., that would be November 21st, and due to COVID concerns, we will be having a virtual presentation of our annual Thanksgiving celebration. Now, this is something we've kept going for now 25 straight years. When we didn't have the COVID situation, we've had as many as 1,000 people show up at this event, be it at St. Mary in Buffalo Grove or at Temple High. Once we even had it over at the high school up in Buffalo Grove, Stevenson. We actually filled that place up at that time. So if you wish to join us, just check us out on our website this year. Just look up under Northwest Suburban Interfaith.org. That's northwestsuburbaninterfaith.org, or our Facebook page to get further details on how to sign in. We're going to be presenting this thing starting on Sunday. It'll run through Thanksgiving, and it'll get you to a link to YouTube, and you'll get to see the entire service. It's really a very interesting thing to do, and I think it'd be well worth your time. Just to talk a little bit about, while I've got your attention, other things that we do for the community. The Northwest Suburban Interfaith, we have do a lot of stuff for food. We have 4 of our members, of our 11 congregant members that we have, 4 of them have food pantries. 1 at Kingswood, 1 at Betham in Buffalo Grove, 1 over at St. Al, and the 4th one's at St. Mary's. And we support them as best as we can financially, and in the past, as David knows, we've even supported some of the food stuff that David does out of St. Joe the Worker. So this is what we're here for. We also work with the post office with a group when they have their Stamp Out Hunger program, and we raise over 10,000 cans of 10,000 canned good pieces annually. Other programs we have a deal where we work with the Police Department of Wheeling as well as Buffalo Grove recently with a group called Faith in Blue, and that's a means in which we could have some kind of conversation going back and forth between the members of our police departments, both of them together, as well as people of faith. We had another Zoom presentation where there was a little interplay about what they're doing and if they had any questions, what they could ask of the police. It really worked out pretty well. Other things that we do is we have a book drive for early childhood literacy. We plant many milkweed gardens to promote encourage, I should say, the butterfly population, the monarch butterfly population. One of our members runs the Lincolnshire, not Lincolnshire, he runs the promoting, my family's promoting Feed My Starving Children events. And then last May, we had a live virtual interfaith tour from Jerusalem centered around the various faiths presiding there. So now, before I bumble any further than that, let me just say that, again, I'm really here for the Thanksgiving service and also to toot my horn a little bit about an organization that I'm very proud to be representing. And you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them. But hopefully, you might want to check us out starting Sunday. And thank you for allowing me to bumble through this thing. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Anyone else?
No.
Thank you. Staff reports, Chief Dunn.
Thank you, President Horker. I want to talk tonight a little bit about catalytic converter thefts. It's becoming it's a national issue, state issue, and now a local issue. As an example, in 2019, we experienced 5 catalytic converter thefts in Wheeling. This year, we've experienced 58. The thieves are targeting Hondas and Toyotas primarily, with a few Acuras. In the way of crime prevention, you can install an anti-catalytic theft device. A quick search of Google, it's there $100 and up. But the damage to your car and the loss to your catalytic converter can be upwards of $1,000. And depending on what your deductible is, your insurance, I don't know if they'll cover it. We ask that you park your personal cars in garages. If you must park your car in a driveway, consider installing a motion sensor security light. While the lights may not provide complete security, it may deter a thief. We encourage, if you're in a multifamily complex, encourage our HOAs to install security cameras. And again, we always ask that if anybody sees anything suspicious, don't wait to tell us the next day or call an hour later or whatnot. Dial 911 immediately so we can come and check out, what you think might be suspicious, and let's check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Dunn. Chief McGreal.
Thank you, President Horker. I was asked to relay some numbers in relation to COVID. So as of November 11th, an estimated 28,846 Wheeling residents, which equates to 73.7%, have received at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. An estimated 22,709 Wheeling residents, which is 58.2%, are fully vaccinated. Wheeling's percentages, it's been the same case for pretty much the duration of this pandemic. Is our numbers are better as a whole than Cook County. Cook County is sitting at 69.6% of the residents partially vaccinated and 55.9% are fully vaccinated. And again, as always, we encourage those vaccinated to seek out the booster if you can. There's plenty of opportunity out there.
Thank you, Chief. Clerk Brady, consent agenda.
All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the board members or citizens so request, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution authorizing change order number 8 to the construction contract with W.B. Olson for the demolition and construction of the new fire station 23 for a credit in the amount of $45,420. 11B, resolution ratifying and approving a sanitary sewer easement of the Chicago Executive Airport property at Plant Road and Industrial Lane. 11C, resolution granting tentative acceptance of public and private improvements within Wolf Crossing subdivision. Resolution approving a proposal for Manhard Consulting to provide surveying services for a water main and sidewalk improvement project along Milwaukee Avenue in the amount of not to exceed $89,000. 11E, resolution authorizing the president to sign an intergovernmental agreement between Community Consolidated School District 21 and the Village of Wheeling to facilitate construction of the Village of Wheeling fiber optic improvement project. 11F, resolution authorizing the village president and clerk to execute a plat of easement for 221 South Wolf Road. 11G, resolution approving the purchase of up to 1,440 tons of road salt from Compass Minerals of America through the state of Illinois Central Management Services Joint Purchasing Program. Municipal contract in the amount of $60.37 per ton and an extended purchase amount of $87,000 in fiscal year 2022. 11F, approving the continued participation in the Suburban Tree Consortium for the purchase and installation of parkway trees during fiscal year 2022. 11I, approving a one-year contract with Advanced Tree Care, Inc. for tree inventory, trimming, and removal, including stump grinding, in the amount not to exceed $108,000 for fiscal year 2022.
Any questions? If not, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, trustee Rufato, second, trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Hooker?
Yes, that brings us to 13A and B. Please read both of them.
Sure. Ordinance granting special use approval to permit the operation of a ground transportation service small at 1030 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2021-43A. Ordinance granting a variation from Title 19 zoning to permit the maximum fleet size to exceed 6 vehicles for a ground transportation service small at 1030 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2021-43B.
Mr. Clicker, what do we got?
Yes, before you have a request from Safeway Transportation Services to operate a ground transportation services small facility at 1030 South Milwaukee, which is in the B3 and I3 general industrial zoning districts. The reason it needs both the special use and the variation is that by definition, a small ground service based on the tight size of the vehicles is technically limited to 6 vehicles. This operator will have up to 50, so it also requires a variation for the number of vehicles allowed. This was heard at the October 27th Plan Commission meeting and received unanimous approval.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos, the petitioners are here. If somebody representative wants to come up and say hi and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Robert Long of law firm of Daniels, Long and Pincel. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to appear. As the staff indicated, we're attempting to finish the repurposing of this particular parcel and bring a bunch of jobs to Wheeling and provide appropriate services that are quite needed for kids with special needs, to transport them around town and to get them to and from school and help their parents get out into the job force.
Thank you. Trustee Papantos had some questions, and then Trustee Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Long. I watched the Plan Commission meeting, and there was, I'm a little confused. How many of the vans will be parked overnight?
The vans or the school buses?
Well, the school buses are going to be inside, correct?
That is correct.
And so I'm talking about the vans.
Probably about 20.
Okay. And in light of what Chief Dunn said, will there be security to protect the vans as far as?
This is a fenced area, and it's well lit, so yeah.
Okay, I mean, I've seen people climb fences, not me, but,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you'll have, I'm just concerned for you, just so they're.
We appreciate that, and the company does take its security seriously.
Great. And will the vans have logos on them?
Yes,
So people will know that
that it's,
they're yours and
van,
they
yeah.
belong there?
yeah, you know, I think some of the confusion you had about how many vans would be there, because it's going to be somewhat variable depending on what the drivers do and which drivers wish to take their vehicles home at night and which one will want to leave them overnight. That's more of a company management thing that'll depend entirely on what the people that are, what their needs are for whether they have parking at home or not.
Right. And how many vans can you park in the parking lot? I mean, what's your space requirement for that, just out of?
I think the total that they calculated was 63, if I recall correctly. Yeah, we wouldn't be parking the entire parking lot full overnight. You know,
Right.
you anticipate about a third of it would be used.
And during the day, if somebody's van is staying there, excuse me, their car will be kind of taking the place of the van during the day?
Yeah, so somebody that parks would drive to the facility or have their spouse drop off or something like that. They'd pick up the van, they'd go do the delivery, drop off, pick up, whatever it was for the kids, and then they would return the van and either drive home or get picked up, and then do the same thing in the afternoon typically.
So their cars would be in the fenced area during the day?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Lang.
So I was trying to find this through the report. I might have missed it, but so your logoed vehicles, the fleet of vans,
Yeah.
those will be, the intention there is to have those parked overnight behind the locked fence area
Generally speaking, that's true.
and not out in the front parking lot.
Right. We want to provide as much security as possible for our vehicles.
Okay. And the front parking lot is for employee parking, I would imagine.
Well, there are two different uses, one of which has already been approved for this parcel as a matter of right, which is the dispatch services. So the dispatchers today are parking there during the day when they're working, and we anticipate leaving that area as open as possible into the
Okay. And what type of vehicles would those be in and out of that?
The dispatcher?
Yeah.
They'd be driving private cars.
Okay.
Whatever they drive.
Okay, so those are the workers, drivers of the vans. They'll park their cars there during the day.
Typically,
Yeah, that's what I had asked originally, if that's for employee parking.
Yeah, I
That's what
think there's probably going to be some flow over depending on who comes when, and, you know, people tend to park where they sometimes want to park, whether you exactly want them to park exactly there or not, might be a different question.
We've just, on Milwaukee Avenue, we've kind of worked over the years pretty hard to eliminate uses like car dealerships and
Right.
fleets and so on. So it's I understand that you meet the criteria for your use here, and I'm just making sure that, you know, it doesn't turn into a a lot with a bunch of vehicles on it that, that
Yeah.
is counter to what we've trying to do all these years.
I see your point. I think what you're going to see is it's going to look like a parking lot at any commercial building. So there'll be cars coming and going. Some of them will be vans, some will be sedans, some will be coupes, probably some pickup trucks too. And that's, because that's what the people drive that go to work there.
Fair enough. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, trustee Lang. Trustee Rufato?
Just a quick question. You mentioned in your letter about on-site maintenance.
Yeah.
Is that being performed inside the building, I would assume?
Yes.
Okay. That was all. Thank you.
We're good.
Any other questions or comments? If there are no other questions or comments, we need a motion to approve.
I just wanted to say hi to Mr. Long. It's been maybe 6 or 7 years since I've seen you, so hope you're doing well.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's all right.
Last time we were talking about the trip up to, on our way to Madison, I think we were.
Right, correct.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, sorry. Former adversaries back in the day.
And a worthy one, too. Very good, thank you.
It's just business. So I need a motion to approve 13A, that would be the ordinance granting special use and approval to permit the operation of a ground transportation service at 1030 South Milwaukee Avenue.
So moved.
Second?
Motion, trustee Vogel, second, trustee Papantos. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, so in conjunction with this, we have an ordinance granting some variation from Title 19. Does anybody have any specific questions on this? If not, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Krueger, second.
Second.
Give that to trustee Vito. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, congratulations, guys. Good luck. C, Clerk Brady.
Resolution of the corporate authorizing to determine the amount of tax levy for the 2021 tax year.
Corporate authorities, Michael Kaplan. Mr. Kaplan, we had a hearing for the budget a while back, didn't we?
We did on Saturday, October 30th, Mr. President, and at that meeting, the village board gave direction to staff to prepare the tax levy determination resolution reflecting a 2% increase in the levy compared to last year. So that's what's before you tonight, and since we've already discussed it at length, I won't go into any more detail, but if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions or comments? On the left? Right? Last chance. There being no takers,
I just.
go right ahead.
Restate what I said. I mean, we have a massive surplus, and I just think if we're not going to raise taxes ever, this is the time not to raise taxes, so I'll be voting against this.
I'm glad you commented. I would have been disappointed had you not. Any other questions or comments?
I'll say it's a nice compromise from the 3.5 that we were starting with.
So if there's nothing else, we still need a motion.
So moved.
Motion, trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Rufato?
No, that was
Trustee Krueger?
It was
Vogel.
Krueger.
Vogel?
Anybody? Somebody?
Second.
Bueller?
Sure.
Vogel.
Yeah, we'll go with Vogel.
Okay.
Will I get called out on that one? Roll
Oh,
call,
wait,
please.
I have to roll call. Trustee Rufato?
no.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
No.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, excellent.
D, an ordinance providing for the insurance of not to exceed $18,500,000 general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2021 of the Village of Wheeling, Cook and Lake Counties, Illinois, for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding bonds of the said village and making any necessary payments to provide of interest rate exchange agreements in connection with the termination of such agreement by the said village in connection with the said, oh wait, excuse me, I got lost. Refunding, providing for the levy and collection of direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest of said bonds and authorizing the execution of a bond purchase agreement in connection with the sale of said bonds to Mesirow Financial Inc.
Thank you. Mr. Kaplan, what are we doing with said bonds, and what's the simple end net result of this?
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. Back in 2008 and 2009, the village issued $30 million in general obligation bonds to help pay for several buildings we were constructing at the time. We now have an opportunity to refund those bonds at a present value savings of somewhere between $75,000 and $135,000 by taking advantage of lower interest rates. This ordinance, if approved, gives staff the authority to sell those bonds sometime before the end of the month, most likely when the market rates are most favorable to the village. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So there is a stipulation in here, if I'm going to jump in at the beginning. It's the wrong one. These are bonds to pay off the original loan to build, well, it was really everything at that time, wasn't it?
There were a series of buildings, the village hall that we're all sitting in, a fire station, we remodeled the police station, and we built a public works building as well. The total was $40 million, but these series 2008 and 2009 bonds made up 30 of the $40 million.
And then these being retired will simply reduce the interest that we're paying on the balance of the note.
Right, the bonds do not mature until 2027, and so we would just be paying lower interest payments until then.
Excellent, thank you. And now, if you'll all excuse me for cutting in ahead of you, anybody have any other questions? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. And I think you just answered my question, Director Kaplan. These mature in 2027, so this is a fairly short-term savings. Have we refunded these bonds before?
This is the first time that we've refunded these specific bonds. It's the fourth time in the last 10 years that we've done bond refundings, but those involved other bonds.
And when do you have to do this by?
The schedule is to do the refunding by the end of November and then close on the bonds in the middle of December.
Thank you.
Sorry. Any other questions? Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Trustee Papantos?
Second.
Second, Trustee Vogel. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
E, discussion regarding fiscal year 2022 through 2026 capital improvement plan.
Mr. Kaup. This is where a lot of the money goes in the budget.
Yes, quite a bit. Thank you, President Horker, members of the board. I'm here this evening to discuss the wrap-up for the 2021 capital improvement program, as well as looking forward to 2022. Before we get started, I want to first say thank you to the people who do the yeoman's work for pulling this together. Christine Bajer is here with us today, but also Kyle Getzelman. He's our civil engineer, as well as Vince Hoffman and Jeff Wolfgram are our two superintendents. Kevin Pelly is our fairly new engineering coordinator, and he put together the presentation that you're going to see. He also does a lot of our requests for proposals and quotations and managing the contract. So thank you to all of them for helping with this. And then, of course, Lana Rudnick, as you all know, is now with our fleet division, but she also helped with the transition. The CIP for 2022 are included in the budget that you guys are going to be approving coming up, and what we're going to be going over are all of the funded projects that were included in this upcoming document, as well as what we've just completed with fiscal year 2021. As every year, we had a motor fuel tax street improvement project. This year, we completed 16,500 linear feet of pavement, which is right on par where we want to be. We have about 70 centerline miles of road here in Wheeling, and ideally, we have those roads last 21 to 22 years. So doing about 15,000 to 18,000 linear feet of pavement is a good sweet spot for us based on our total road network. We, as you know, replaced every one of our known lead service lines. So just north of 100 lead service lines were replaced. We're one of 2 communities in Illinois that did so, the other one being Montgomery. Recently, I've been getting a lot of phone calls from other communities who are looking to mirror the program that you guys approved. The limited grant funding that's available through the IEPA is now in much greater demand than it was when we approved, contemplating doing the project. Prior to my time, my predecessor, but also manager Svandilis, jumping at an opportunity that is going to be more difficult to get a hold of now. There may be other lead service lines out there that we don't know of, but every single one that we were aware of has been replaced. Rebuild Illinois, we discussed this at a previous meeting. These are the funds that totaled $2.48 million for the village of Wheeling over 6 infusions. We're using that money to finish up phase 1, which is the planning engineering for Wheeling Road improvements. Those will be used to design the project in 2022, which will result in total reconstruction of Wheeling Road, most likely in 26 or 27. That project, we will try to leverage Surface Transportation Fund money through the Northwest Municipal Conference. Of course, we have, every year we do our tree program. This year we replaced 66 trees from either trees that we removed or to leverage an opportunity to grow our total urban forest here in Wheeling. And we also are in the midst of completing a drainage study, a stormwater improvement study for the South Dunhurst neighborhood, which will give us an understanding of what the scope and cost of one of 3 viable projects would be to improve drainage in that neighborhood. It is the last project that had been identified in the 2015 stormwater improvement plan. So as soon as we know more, we'll be presenting that to the board. Further 2021 year capital improvement projects include our water main replacement program. We typically do this on a biennial basis. This year we replaced well over a mile of pipe, and the project came in well under budget. It was awarded at $1.799 million, and it actually came in, I think, another $60,000 or so under budget. We had budgeted well over $2.2 million for that project. And then, of course, as you know, Fire Station 23 was completed for a cost of about $5 million. From what Chief shared this afternoon, that came in under budget and 2 months ahead of schedule as well. We had our first design build for a sanitary sewer repair. That was done in concert with Siorba Group, which is one of our consulting engineering firms, as well as Kennedy Construction, which came in under budget by about $22,000. We have our first pavement and condition assessment study that was performed on an automatic basis, which is using technology. It was a dashboard camera to perform an assessment that we used to have performed manually. Somebody would walk 1/3 of the community. We were able to do 100% of the community, which will reduce the frequency of these assessments from once every year to once every 3rd year. We also switched our asphalt treatment program materials from a product called HA5, which had a total cost of about $450,000 a year, to a different Reclamite product that was significantly cheaper. Our roof replacement project was completed as far as we could. A part of the roof for Station 42 will not be completed until early 2022. Some of the materials are sitting off the shore on the Pacific coast of North America, as a lot of other materials are as well. Going forward, looking forward to 2022, I think now's a good time to talk about some of the sources of our funding for the various projects that we have. We have a capital improvements fund, which is used primarily for replacement, reconstruction, rebuilding of our infrastructure, whereas we have the use of capital outlay funds. We typically use for maintenance. We use it for pavement markings, replacing windows, etc. We have our special revenue fund, the motor fuel tax fund, which we primarily use for road improvements. And then we have our utility capital improvement fund, sanitary, storm, and water, as well as, of course, our TIF capital improvement fund. The new infusion of money that we had identified during the budget hearing earlier this month, or at the end of October, is the American Rescue Plan Act. The Village of Wheeling has received $5.2 million in capital improvement money for that act. We're going to be using that money both to rebuild the Fire Station 22 north of Dundee Road, and then also to add a third water main construction project in the upcoming 5-year capital improvement plan. We're going to be replacing the Lakeside Villas water mains in addition to the 2 projects that we had already identified for the 5-year plan. Some of the projects that we are contemplating this year are both new, as in they're not repetitive. Many of them are familiar, and you'll recognize them. This project, the new public sidewalk construction program, is in conjunction with the addition of new water main that'll be run on the south end of Milwaukee from River Mill to Sumac. And because we'll be tearing up the parkways on the west side of the road, we'll be looking to install new sidewalk as well. We're going to be extending fiber optic installation to fire stations 24 and 23. This is an IT requirement to improve communication and bandwidth for the village facilities. Every year we have a sidewalk and concrete program. This year we're looking to increase the total cost for this program to be able to replace more sidewalks that have been proven to be deficient. We've also identified that it would be appropriate for us to break the town up into 5 sections. Each year we'll look at one of the sections of town, we'll conduct a survey, and the following year we will grind with a sidewalk grinder with in-house staff any height differences of up to 3/4 of an inch. Anything more than that will be replaced. We'll see how 80,000 goes, and we'll report back to the board to determine whether or not that's an appropriate funding level. Every year we have our tree planting, our parkway tree planting program. This is the same amount of money that we typically put to it. Last year we did 66 trees, and we're looking to do about the same number this year as well. Project that we don't typically see every year includes this fountain maintenance item. The Friendship Park fountain is now over 20 years old. I think of it as a brand new feature, but time marches on. We want to conduct a study with a consulting engineering firm and a fountain company to determine how best to progress, both with maintenance and then the eventual reconstruction of the asset because of its high visibility and importance in reflecting the character of the village. We have, this is a one-off project as well. The Quiet Zone is in conjunction with the Canadian National Railway and 11 other communities. The Village of Wheeling is petitioning to have them not allowed to be able to blow their horns while they come through our town. This requires that we have a specific cross-section for each crossing. And while Buffalo Grove has taken the lead on this project, each community will have the crossing redesigned by a consulting engineering firm that was retained by the group of municipalities, and we'll have that constructed this year as well. As I mentioned, we have our asphalt surface treatment program every year. The idea with this program is that every road that's put in, when it's about a year old, we will treat it with this material. And then again, when roads are about 10 years old, and what that will do is hopefully get us an extra 2 years or so of life out of our asphalt pavements. The idea is to, once we determine what the average lifespan of our pavements is to make sure we have an understanding of what the future replacement costs will be for our road network. This year's MFT Street Improvement Program carries the same budget as our more recent projects. We spend the majority of the money on the construction itself, as well as professional engineering services for the design and then the oversight of the project. We're going to be focusing on those roads off Wolf and Strong. A lot of those roads suffered additional usage from the cartage companies working with Acura and Wolf Road. They're also due for replacement, and of course we also did a lot of water main replacement in that area, so we try to follow those utility projects so that we're not putting new pipes under brand new pavements. We like to put the utilities in first and then top it with new pavement after. And once again, the Rebuild Illinois Fund program, in 2021, we focused on the Phase 1 planning engineering that's required for us to be eligible for those STP funds through the Northwest Municipal Conference and CMAP. This year, 2022, we will be doing the design engineering. And once we have that buttoned up, we'll be able to consider the project shovel-ready, and we will then be able to leverage additional grant funding to help pay for that significant reconstruction cost of approximately $8 million. On the utility side of things, we have the Storm Sewer Capital Improvement Project. We have a Phase 1 and Phase 2 engineering proposal for $242,000 in fiscal year 2022 for stream bank stabilization. This project would address the significant erosion that we are experiencing on our stream bank from about McHenry Avenue going east to Dundee, to where the Buffalo Creek takes a southerly turn and crosses Dundee right just west of Wolf. The purpose of this project will be to improve water quality, stormwater runoff, and the discharge that we eventually have coming from our community into the Des Plaines River. That project will also be eligible for 60% grant funding through the IEPA 319 grant program. The area has been considered critical through the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, and so the project will show favorably when we put that forward for grant consideration. On the water side, we have 2 deep wells that serve as our emergency water connection backup in case we had a problem with our primary water source through the Northwest Water Commission. These wells have 2 deep well pump and motor systems that should have just about a life in perpetuity if well maintained. These pumps and motor systems typically last 30 years if they're under a load of pumping 1,000 gallons a minute, 10 hours a day for 10 years, and they're repaired and rehabilitated every 10 years. They usually last about 30 years. Our pumps only pump once a week to waste, just so that we make sure that they're ready to go if we need them. We did a rehabilitation of pump number 5 on well 5, and next year we will be doing the other one. From the TIF side of things, we have, this is the other half of the water project, the water main project that I mentioned earlier, from River Mill to Sumac. The sidewalk will be offering those residents at Astor and River Mill the opportunity to get to the bus stop close to the Dam Inn on Hintz and Milwaukee. This water main project, which is also part of the utility item that you approved for Manhard Consulting this evening to get the utility and construction easements, will be bringing water to areas of the community that right now are served by private wells. So that's an overview, a summary of what we'll be doing in 2022. This has, a lot of these projects are extensions of work that we've already undertaken over past years, and some new projects as well. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have
Trustee Vogel has a question?
Maybe not so much for Dan, because you're fairly new, but no offense. But the London pedestrian bridge maintenance, John, I remember a few years back we talked about, do we really need that bridge? Do we have any idea what usage that bridge gets? Because I go by there quite often and I never see anyone there. And I know there's crossing guards at the corner of Dundee and Schoenbeck, and most of the kids from our subdivision and from the subdivision across the street from us cross there. So is this a liability issue for us, or is this?
No, I don't think it's a liability. Those numbers do exist. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know they are tracked. The topic did come up in our conversations with District 21 and Wingspan, as far as the new project is introduced. Do we need a bridge? Do we need a light? Do we need to change the intersection components? And the bottom line was the best answer for everyone's purposes is to keep that bridge up. The school agreed, Wingspan agreed. There are requirements that we have to have safe passage, which only leaves a couple of options. And the cheapest and best is to keep that bridge up, almost separate and apart from how often it's used.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vogel, Trustee Papantos, then Trustee Lang.
Thank you. Director Cow, one thing that you didn't mention with the lead line replacement, that cost our residents absolutely nothing, correct?
I believe it ended up costing the village about $240,000.
But our residents weren't charged? The homeowners?
The homeowners would have been, part of that was paid for out of local funds, so.
Right, but they weren't, and because other communities are starting this program, and I've read it in the paper, and they plan to charge the residents a partial.
Correct. So the Village of Wheeling did not have any direct payments demanded of their residents once they did the project, as other communities are doing. The local share was paid for out of already collected fees.
Right.
So it was out of the water fund. The total project cost was just north of $1 million. We had the low interest revolving loan through the IEPA pay for 50% of the remainder of the cost, and we also had a significant contribution from the Northwest Water Commission. And but at the end of the day, the remainder was from the taxpayers, but it was not directly billed. There was no bills for the project.
Right.
Correct.
And on the Reclamate,
yes.
Reclamate, thank you. So is that every road or every street that's been redone, or if something has, like I know my streets were redone, but I've never seen it applied on my streets, and so what triggers it?
So going forward, once we have the program established, every road that is 1 year old will receive the treatment, or we'll do it immediately after that, but typically it's best placed 1 year after treatment, and then again when the road is about halfway through its life. And then after that, we typically let the road degrade. And if the maintenance is good and we've crack sealed and we do a patching program when the road further reduces in overall condition, we want those roads to get to about 22. 22 years is a good number to shoot for. 20 is average. Right now, this past year, we did significantly more roads, and that was because we didn't re-identify the roads to apply the material. We followed the program that was already in place with the HA5. So going forward, if your roads, I don't know when your roads were replaced.
5 years ago, I think.
So most likely, it won't get that first treatment. We'll pick it up in the second treatment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Lang and then Trustee Rufato.
Hi, Dan. Do you anticipate Wheeling Road to be widened in this? I know you still have to do the study and all that, but are we anticipating widening it as much as possible? Because it is quite a heavily used road with large trucks, and it seems difficult enough to get through there with a car sometimes.
Sure. Yes. So the project is a full right-of-way project where the entire right-of-way is contemplated for reconstruction and improvement. I think it was last meeting where we talked about the lighting improvements that we're holding off, and we're going to collect a fee from the developer to pay for those improvements when we finally reconstruct the road. But specifically, I don't know what the cross-section is going to be, how many lanes there will be, but I know that they will be looking at drainage, they'll be looking at use, and they'll be looking at vehicle counts to best determine what that should be. My guess is that the cross-section will not be what it is today. So it'll include new drainage coming from the west to the east towards Heritage. It'll include new pedestrian considerations, footpaths, multi-use paths. It'll include lighting, and that typically will result in a different cross-section from curbstone to curbstone.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Rufato.
Thank you, Dan.
And Trustee Kruger.
On the sidewalk and concrete program, you have $80,000, and is that just to replace, or does that also include the cost of grinding that you were talking about on some of the sidewalks?
Sure. So the program historically, I believe it was $20,000 for replacement and $20,000 for what we did was horizontal saw cutting. And we've combined those two amounts and increased it by an additional $40,000. That money is going to be only used for replacement.
Okay, so how many squares can you replace with $80,000? So what's a square cost?
The current, so most of the squares in Wheeling are actually only 20 square feet. They're 4 feet by 5 feet, considered a piece, not a square. Those go for square foot of, I don't know. It's 400 squares for $50,000-ish. So,
okay,
400 squares for 50,000. Let's call it 620 squares.
That's not a lot.
No, it's not.
It just seems, we probably have a lot of squares in this town.
Sure.
And it just, and the reason I bring it up is because I think you had an intern during the summer go through our subdivision, and the person was marking some of the squares, and I wasn't sure if that was for, I think some of them were raised, or I don't know, if replacement, so it just doesn't, that does not seem like a lot of money for the amount of sidewalks that we have. And personally, I would much rather see more squares replaced than this step of trying to grind them down, because I've seen in some cases where we've ground them down and it just doesn't seem to work. It just doesn't seem to work. And especially where I walk, where I've seen, And we've talked about it. Some of the big trees that we have in the parkway are raising the sidewalks that they're, could be dangerous at some point in time. And during the winter, when the water freezes in those areas. And we don't see that because we're not out there all the time, but neighbors have told me that that happens. And all we're doing is we're just going to grind them down. And to me, that doesn't make sense. And if I would have thought about this, $80,000 just doesn't seem like a lot. And maybe, next year we can increase the budget on this, because there are probably a lot more that need replacement than just maintenance on them.
That's a salient concern, and it's definitely something that what we identified was and every community has this exact issue. This isn't something that's unique to Wheeling. One of the biggest factors in offsets on sidewalks are tree roots, and because typically it's those parkway trees, those bigger parkway trees, as they mature, will push them up. And that is something that is transient. That's something that is fluid. It changes all the time. Typically, when we're replacing sidewalk squares, we will root prune on the side of the sidewalk and as well as on the other side to make sure that those roots don't continue to impact the sidewalk when they're replacing them. Grinding is less permanent, but it removes the trip hazards. And at the end of the day, the big concern that we have is trying to mitigate the risk of having trip hazards. That was the big push for us to consider breaking up the town into 5 segments to concentrate our efforts and make sure that we hit the entire town every 5 years. Making sure that we get to every piece of sidewalk every 5 years, going forward, of course, because this isn't something that we've done. Would allow us to, if we were sidewalk grinding those minor trip hazards, it would allow us to have a set of eyes on them before that minor trip hazard became something that would be more substantial. But, as you said, $80,000 is $80,000. It is more money than what we have traditionally been putting towards this effort. We're going to look at how far we can get going through 20% of the town with that money. And you can be rest assured, depending on how that comes out, I'll come back and let you know how it worked. If we need more money, we'll ask.
Great, thank you. And then, and I'm not sure if this is in your area, but it brings me back to the sidewalks in front of the new Wingspan development. That's probably community development more so, but I don't want that taken off of anybody's mind, because that needs to be replaced and needs to be widened. And it just, when I saw this, it just reminded me of that.
I can just, if you don't mind, John, we just had a meeting today with the developer, and they agreed wholeheartedly that they will be putting in a new 8-foot sidewalk across the front of that development.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. I was just surprised at the 80,000. I'll do some calculations, but I mean, it doesn't do a lot of squares for $80,000. So, thank you. That was it.
Thank you, Trustee Rufato. Trustee Kruger, you had something?
Yes, Director Kaup, you had said that early on that at least in the lead replacement, other communities are going to be fighting for IEPA money, grant money. Is IEPA grant money sort of earmarked for like pipe replacement, concrete work? And I think the slide, second to last slide before the question slide, you mentioned that there was something that would be eligible for IEPA funding potentially?
So yes, these are all
different. Is it compartmentalized first?
Yeah, and they're actually different programs. This is a 319 grant through the IEPA for the stream bank stabilization, and it's truly a grant. What we were leveraging for the lead service line replacement was a revolving loan that had a 50% forgiveness facet to it.
I just wanted to be clear that we wouldn't be up against anybody fighting for other money for other things when we are going up for this.
Oh, we will be. Oh, yeah. They're all competitive programs.
Okay.
The idea is to identify how strong your application is prior to even considering this.
Okay.
So before we do the Phase 1 and Phase 2 engineering, we look at how the application is going to look to those reviewing it. This is on what is considered a critical length of the creek, so it is in the worst possible condition. It's as deep beet red as they could use as far as ink color, and so that right off the bat is going to have them looking to help us out. Beyond that, we're going to spend the time to already have our Phase 1 and Phase 2 engineering completed, which means that that shows that we're serious about doing the project.
Right.
It means that we've already sunk significant amount of
Invested some money in the program, so we just
Exactly.
need some help.
So we feel very confident that what we're putting forward is a project that will be considered favorably.
Good. One other quick question, and I've asked this before, to your predecessors. Reclamite, is that only for streets that have been repaired that have curb and gutter? And I know you know why I'm asking.
No, you could use it on any pavement. There are other products. There's always a product that will fit your application.
And I just want to make sure, and it's not for a reconstructed road, it could be for resurfaced as well.
Absolutely.
Jackson was resurfaced, I believe, in 2017. So would we wait then for the half-life before we get treated?
Probably.
The same as Harmony?
I'll have to
Harmony
look,
Village.
but most likely, yeah, most likely.
Other than the resurfacing, we've seen snowplows and that's it. So just want to make sure that we're on that rotational maintenance schedule.
We wouldn't forget about Jackson.
Thank you. We try not to let you forget about us. That's all I had. Thank you.
I actually have nothing. If there are no further questions or comments from the board, this is just a plan.
It's discussion tonight. It'll be presented to you for adoption along with the rest of the budget in the formality in December.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Kaup.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Dan.
Brings us to official communications. Manager Svandilis.
Thank you. Just wanted to take the opportunity to remind the public that this Sunday, beginning at 4:30 p.m. at Friendship Park, is our annual Lights Around Wheeling celebration. Of course, this is our first year back since COVID, so we are excited. Santa has confirmed his appearance. And this year, to try and make life a little easier for everyone, there's typically a crowd. We are bringing in a food truck to serve hot cocoa and cookies. So we're avoiding the need for people standing in the fountain to be in there serving and the long lines. So it is the cookies and cocoa are free. So they will just be handing out refreshments, and it will start at 4:30 p.m. sharp. And we look forward to celebrating with everyone. And in the next week or so, we will be releasing our dates and locations for Santa on Your Street, which we started last year, where Santa comes around and covers almost the entirety of all the residential areas in town. We'll be releasing the maps and days and times very shortly. So that'll be happening in December.
But he'll be low-jacked and we can track him too, right?
He will be low-jacked, and you can live track Santa, yes.
That's important.
At least while he's in Wheeling.
Yes. Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. And one quick question, Manager Svandilis, for the children who want to visit Santa at lighting of the lights, will they be required to wear masks?
They will, and we will have masks available for them if they don't have them, at least while they're sitting on Santa's lap, yes.
Thank you. And I just wanted to thank staff who worked diligently with the state for Wolf Road. Having it open 2 lanes for this year or for the winter season is definitely worthwhile, and it's nice not hitting a pothole every time you make a turn. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Rufato.
This last year has been an interesting year for everybody, and we give thanks for everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Trustee Rufato. If there are no other questions or comments, final bit of business for the evening, we have the bills for October 28th through November 10th. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
Trustee Rufato, second Trustee Kruger. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, there are no executive sessions for the evening, so I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Kruger, second.
Second.
Trustee Rufato, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.